Hi everyone, this is Ariela Halevi of Soul Centered, and I just wanted to pop on this video to just briefly let you know that my husband and I, Baruch Halevi, co-founders of Soul Centered, are and have started a podcast. So I want to give you a little preview of our podcast so you can check that out on our website, www.mysoulcentered.org. But really what we've talked about on this podcast is something that is very near and dear to my heart, and it's the discussion of remembering. And it's more than just remembering, but it's this discussion as we head into the afternoon of life, our midlife years. And it's this idea that we had to live in the morning of life, the early years of our lives, so that we could enter into midlife and remember who we are. Remember that we were put on this earth for a soul purpose. I love this idea that our soul is like our divine fingerprints, right? No fingerprint is the same. So your soul is not the same as anybody else's. We all have come here for a purpose. And when we enter into midlife, we typically have all had or will have awakenings. Sometimes the awakenings are rough and they force us to rip off the masks that we have been wearing and the titles we have been wearing in the early years of our lives. And sometimes the awakening is more of a whispering, right? Brene Brown always talks about this idea that the divine comes and taps you on your shoulder basically throughout your life and says, wake up, it's time to wake up. And if we don't wake up, we remember by this really loud, it becomes not a whispering, but a loud voice saying it's time to wake up. So the ideas of midlife it's about remembering who we are. And part of what I do with clients and my own personal self is in remembering who we are, we have to remember that it takes time to remember who we are. That is why we've gone through our whole lives sometimes not remembering. And when we remember, as we remember, it's as if we are in a cocoon, and it becomes dark sometimes, and it becomes uncomfortable, and it becomes this transformative experience. But to get there, we have to remember where we came from. So not only when I work with clients, not only do I see a remembering of where you came from in your early years, but it's almost, I do something called a spiritual genogram, where we look at the lineage of where you came from in order for you to remember where you're going in your soul purpose and your soul path. And so it's a beautiful healing that happens when we look into our ancestry and heal the traumas and wounds that were naturally passed down to us. Many of the clients I've worked with say to me, myself included, I have these things about me, these behaviors, these beliefs, that I don't know where they came from. They're not mine. And that is where healing comes in, and energy work comes in, and soul work comes in to help you remember who you are as a soul. So it's healing those lineages so you can come into a full returning of your soul. And that's the next stage of this midlife awakening, is returning. Now, returning is a really interesting step, and it's been very challenging sometimes for me to even go through it. Even with a lot of the work that I've done on myself, returning is about, you've gone through some of the waiting, and then returning is about coming out of your cocoon, but you're stumbling because you've returned to a new land, right? It's the land of your soul. And returning is about letting go. It's becoming the caterpillar and stumbling through it. And it's about letting go and trusting that you can get there. It's trying on new masks or new identities. Really, they're the masks or the identities of your soul. So it's not a mask in a bad way. It's a releasing of the old masks to become who you truly are, but we have to get there. So it's about letting go and trusting in yourself and the divine or the divine feminine, your high self, and ultimately your high soul, your highest soul. And when we get there, after returning, we recommit. And recommit is all about creating a silent practice. Recommit is what we do with clients. We say, okay, if this is your life, then how are you going to become that butterfly? Well, you're not going to just become the butterfly. We have to create a daily practice in order to recommit to your butterfly self, to your soul self. And so a lot of that is tapping into the divine feminine aspects of you, whether you're male or female or anything in between. It's the divine feminine in you that wants to speak to you in a way that is more softer, more intuitive, and more guided. And so the recommitting is going through the shatterings and coming out the other side to the butterfly, to the soul that you truly are and can be in this lifetime. So tune in for more podcasts and more awakenings and messages on awakenings at www.mysoulcenter.org. And you can always reach out to us and ask us any questions. And have a great day. And don't forget to remember and return and recommit to your soul. Namaste.